Good afternoon. This is Ukraine Media Center, Odesa. We continue with our third briefing dedicated to how we can aid the occupied Kherson. Today with us we have online volunteers Vitaly, Danilov and Denis Sukhanov, and later on we will have Valery Zarubin in person. And we have the first question. You mentioned that recently you visited the occupied Kherson. What is the humanitarian situation there? Yes, I was in Kherson for 3 days, and today I'm already in Zaporizhia, but only for 1 day, to get the humanitarian aid for the next mission to Kherson. First of all, there are now a lot of product packages and kits in Kherson, and they are now replenishing supplies for hospitals with medication and other relevant things. I communicated with hospitals and the heads of medical departments there. They have enough medication for proper operation for a certain period of time. Of course, there is the lack of medication for usual treatment when people can buy something in the drugstore for the outpatient care. You know that a lot of doctors have left Kherson, and a lot of people just lost contacts with their family doctors. As for the supplies in drugstores, the medicine there is not enough for the population. And you see that I'm now in my car, and perhaps you can see that my car is full of medication to provide them freely in Kherson, in line with the requests of the people we were in contact during the whole period of occupation. The biggest problem for Kherson now is electricity and power supply and water supply. So if there is no power supply, there is no water supply and no heating. And this can be partially solved by generators and fuel. Generators of different capacity, like small generators for private houses, medium-sized generators for a block of flats, for boiler rooms, generators for 15 kilowatts, and the bigger size generators for 150 kilowatts for hospitals and bigger infrastructural objects. As far as I know, they have been trying to solve the issue. We are also, from our side, have been trying to find enough generators for this. At the central level and local authorities, as well as our humanitarian headquarters, try to do everything possible to find the resources needed. But now it is very difficult to find such generators, not only in Ukraine, but in the neighboring countries as well. NGOs and other organizations such as Red Cross try to provide aid, and I know that yesterday they sent several generators from Zaporizhia for Kherson, but this amount is not enough to ensure a proper power supply on the liberated territory. So if you have generators and if you can at least provide this for a certain period of time, I'm ready to get it to our humanitarian headquarters and volunteer hub and to send it back to you later. This is as for the humanitarian situation in Kherson. If you want more details, do not hesitate to ask, please. Thank you. That was Denis. Yes, we can hear you. And now I would like to ask Vitaly. Vitaly, can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Denis, thank you. for the information. Now, we would like to ask our second guest how you and your organization support Kherson, what you saw there. At the moment, as for this, for now, I have not visited the occupied Kherson, and we're now have negotiations with the company that to understand what that company can support us with. We're also in contact with the German IT company from Berlin, who also promised to provide humanitarian aid to Kherson. And we also will try to get some generators for Kherson and warm clothes. And we will be report accordingly as far as we're sure that these things will be provided by the mentioned companies. And I have the next question. First to Denis. What is the condition of roads? Is it possible to use roads for heavy cargoes such as potable water, generators, etc.? Because I visited Kherson on Monday, and these roads were quite in a bad condition. Actually, if you used the road between Mykolaiv and Kherson near Kalapaiv, you saw the destroyed bridge, and you have to use a roundabout road, which is not suitable for use if it's heavy rain. And yesterday there was heavy rain. Now drivers should use a different route through Nadeshivka or Stanislav. So it's a bit more southern regions from Dnipro. If there is a humanitarian supply, our volunteers, our police officers will help you to find the better road to avoid the car accident. So it is possible to get cargo there, and in our humanitarian headquarters, we receive trucks every day, trucks with the humanitarian aid. And as far as I know, some of them managed to supply generators as well, but that was before the rain. I have the question to Vitaly. You told me that in spring you organized evacuation of people from Kherson. Do you know how many people are now in Kherson, and are there any plans for those who left to return back home? Vitaly? Vitaly, can you hear me? Vitaly can't hear us, so we can ask the same question, Denis. I think that there is the established connection with Vitaly. Vitaly, can you hear us? Oh, yes. Vitaly, in spring, as far as I know, you organized evacuation of people from Kherson. Do you have any information about how many people left Kherson, and do they plan to come back home? Are there conditions for this, and if there is willingness of people to come back there? A lot of local people who have the members of their families still in Kherson want to come back as soon as possible. I helped to evacuate 90 persons. They were mainly students from the marine school there in Kherson. So, but they were foreign citizens, and I helped them to leave. And as far as I know, they're safe and sound at home. Denis, do you have some information? Actually, the Kherson Oblast is very big. It is not only Kherson. People are still leaving from there, and I managed to leave Kherson in late September, because before that I stayed in occupied Kherson. And then I stayed in Zaporizhzhia, and I just supported people who also got from the occupied territories. I helped them to find shelters and with some other accommodations. And if people could not stay in shelter or in kindergarten, which was provided by local authorities for IDPs, could stay at my home. A lot of people are under significant stress, and we need to focus on this more. Those people who left at the beginning of the war, want to come back badly to Kherson, but I don't believe that this is safe now. Moreover, I can say that this is unsafe now to come back to Kherson. And for example, today in the area where I used to live, there was a missile strike, and I'm from Nadnepransk village, and there was strike there as well, and there is constant shelling actually of the city. That's why I would not recommend to come back now to Kherson to live there. As for those people who are on the occupied territory, this is another bank of the Dnipro river. We need to continue to help them to evacuate. And actually, we supported people there. We explained how they can get permission, what carriers they can use for this. And you understand that the number of carriers is next to nothing. And we just try to organize the possibility for people to leave the territory. So we try to find cars with empty seats there. There is a checkpoint, Vasilievska now, and usually Russian soldiers and FSB officers did not allow to get there without permission, without kind of a Russian license. And of course, now carriers do not want to cooperate with the occupiers, not to be considered as a collaborator. And to get the license to cross the checkpoint, you need to become a Russian citizen. So they managed to get people to Vasilievka. Then people had to get out of the pass. And we needed to find some other transportation for the second part of the route for people to be able to get to Zaporizhzhia. So, and usually people who come to Zaporizhzhia are stressed and depressed. And I would like to emphasize once more that we should pay more attention to this. We should be focused more on psychological support than on providing humanitarian aid. Thank you for your answer. We have now with us Valery Zarubin in person. He is a volunteer that also supports Kherson. And I would like to start from the question of the representative of the NGO Green Leaf. And they have this NGO has several questions. So, Valery, I would like to ask you first, but if Vitaly and Denis want to add something, they are more than welcome. The first question, how we can now get to Kherson, where to get the official permission. The second question is how do people get information about humanitarian aid, and if there is a single coordination center or headquarters, and who is responsible for such headquarters? I'd like to welcome first everyone. As for a permission or passes to get there, during our first voyage, we received such permission from the head of Odesa military administration. But now Kherson is open for everyone, so there is no need to get permission. And if the documents are just not checked that much, so you can get there the humanitarian aid if you want to get one, to bring one, but it's under your consideration. We actually worked under occupation, and there was one humanitarian center, but now we have united our efforts with the other volunteers from Kherson. And perhaps this is the answer to the next question, is for the coordination of the how we provide aid. So we just address the military administration, and then to understand what territories, what occupied villages require support now. Tomorrow, I will be in Kherson, And the first question to discuss there is to coordinate efforts of all humanitarian centers, because a lot of people want to provide aid, but few understand what aid is needed. So they say that they will just stay somewhere in the city to provide support. And this is not right, because everything should be registered for people not to get such aid several times with others to get none. What are the information channels? If it comes to our organizations, we have Telegram channel with 3,500 subscribers. All of them are, most of them are from Kherson. And I also have my personal Instagram and the Instagram profile of our organization to inform everyone. And actually, when you come to Kherson, when you open the doors, literally, of your center, just in an hour, you will have like thousands of people in a queue waiting for humanitarian aid. And it takes only a few hours to provide around 20 tons of humanitarian aid. And if you need to record everything as an evidence, then it can take longer. And I would also I would also like to address our other speakers. Yes, I would like to add something. Denis, the floor is yours. And now we have the city military administration in Kherson that has been establishing the humanitarian headquarters, but the process is ongoing, and they asked me to join these headquarters. So we have some coordination center there. But this is when it comes to community in Kherson. As for the whole oblast, as far as I know, there is no information about how these efforts could be coordinated. There are some deputies of the head of the oblast or city that try to do something here. And but the situation is quite difficult, because they just do this from the tracks. And I believe that this is a disrespect to people staying there. And sometimes this is permitted by our authorities, either the oblast military administration or city military administration. Why is it so? First of all, people who bring humanitarian aid to the city, or some bed linen or some blankets, they want to take pictures for the report and also to promote their services. So they want to demonstrate that they do this in mass, that they actively assist people. And actually, I welcome such efforts, but I want this to be better organized. We have a list of the depots that can provide such humanitarian aid. This is the list that is provided by Kherson Oblast Military Administration. Yes, you're right. They are the committees, they are the heads of condominiums, they are the heads of districts who have lists to provide humanitarian aid. There is no hunger or famine in Kherson. People do not die there because they are hungry. So now we have an intensified wave of humanitarian aid, but it doesn't mean that we cannot organize this work properly, not just to provide this help from trucks to people, because this is disrespect. And now I would like to ask to show the footage that was recorded by one of my friends, journalists, who was in Kherson yesterday. So it will take only 40 seconds for you to watch the video. And I think that this demonstrates the problem you're talking about now.
Сколько деток? Если есть свидетельство о рождении. А?
People asked to help a pregnant woman there standing in a line. This is so unfair. Do we need documents to get the humanitarian aid? I would like to comment this video that was shot by my friend. He just recorded how the products were provided to people, and people could not get, not all could get products there. That aid could not got, people could not get aid there. And actually, it was difficult to understand if people were in need and that it was not recorded in any way. Do you have some information about the coordination headquarters? The question to Vitaly. When I worked within the occupied Kherson with the company, with the relevant company, we provided the product packages for churches and other entities. But perhaps that was not right to do, but that was the only opportunity we had back then. And then churches provided this support, this aid and packages further on to the people they know. When we have some larger support, like generators, we will just address the big companies, the big organizations who are more aware about the needs in different places there. Now I would like to ask the whole participants of this press conference. Do you know when the power and water supply are renewed in Kherson? Is there any forecast? I'm ready to answer your questions. First of all of us, not only in Kherson, should be ready to the fact that we will have these power cuts and power supply problems in the future. Even after the power supply is renewed, we should be ready for other blackouts. So we need to have generators for our hospitals to ensure the water supply. So we need to have generators that in the institutions that cannot do without generators. And this is not only for Kherson. We should never stop with this. Denis, perhaps you can inform us about the repairs there. We know that there are plans to renew the railway connection from Kiev and Kherson. And I'm not sure that the rumors about the railway connection are true, but as for the power supply, people say that everything will be renewed soon, and I spent 3 days in Kherson. So today is 18th of November. The repair started on the 12th of November, and you see that after 6 days, there is almost no result. The infrastructure, the power supply system is heavily damaged in Kherson, and the expert says that they need at least 2 weeks to repair the system. Perhaps the power supply will be renewed partially, if it's possible. But as for the whole repair of the system, it will take time. Actually in Kherson Oblast and in other on the other frontline territories, we should expect constant problems with the power supply throughout the winter because we understand that the system will be attacked in the future. That's why we need to be more active in our winterization, so to get ready to winter that is coming. Not to say that we could start preparing beforehand. And actually, I could not expect that Kherson would be deoccupied so quickly. Denis has some connection issues. Vitaly, can you add something? No, I'm here. I'm here. But just that I don't have light in my car anymore. Okay, I have the next question. Perhaps some of you can answer me. Do you have any precise information that Russian troops, when withdrawing from Kherson, tried to destroy everything, boiler rooms, power supply systems, to bring Kherson to the Iron Age, so to say? Valery. As for the evidence, we get this information from Kherson residents. Of course, our first question to them is what happened during the whole time of occupation. And the first thing that Kherson residents tell us is that when withdrawing Russian troops blow up 2 nodes of power supply, and then they blew up something in Boyaslav, and there was the blackout, and is the blackout in the whole system. All Kherson residents tell us the same thing, that the enemy was systematically destroying the infrastructure. And even those who believed in Russian propaganda there in Kherson say us now that they are frustrated now with Russia. Denis, can you add? Would you like to add something? Are you with us? I know for sure that they damaged the power supply stations for trolley buses, and they also damaged transformer stations. But as for the whole city, I don't have such information. And actually, I didn't have time to collect this evidence because when you come to Kherson, you want to do a lot of things at once, and just the things are getting back to normal now. We try to do everything possible to boost the process. So, for example, we cannot get to the municipal council because it is still mined. And can you imagine the challenge that we are now facing there? Because actually we are not sure that we have demined everything there. Vitaly, do you have something to add? Perhaps locals told you something, some examples of such cases. As it has been mentioned by Valery, I can say that I also get information from locals in Kherson. A lot of people whom I know are still there, and they also say that Russian troops blew up boiler rooms. I cannot say if it's true or not because I have not visited Kherson yet, and I'm actually to plan to do this like during the next day with some humanitarian aid. But I have the only information I have is from the locals there. Denis says that the situation is quite difficult there, but at the same time, the products which are supplied are enough there. As for generators, Valery, Denis, Vitaly, you are going to visit Kherson. What else would you like to get there, and who is the target audience? In my car now, um, you can now see medication in my car. My car is full of it, and I'm sure that you can see it. But anyway, I have it, and this is our priority. And we need to supply any systems that can ensure power supply. These can be inverters from the car of different voltage. And actually, the car is also a generator. If we connect such inverter to the passenger car, we can ensure the operation of a gas boiler for pumps to work. And for this, we just need a passenger car, and this is the simplest solution. Candles. Of course, we need candles there. I have the trench, so-called trench candles now that we made by ourselves. And this is what our military needs, and actually our the locals in Kherson need. These candles are made from paraffin. So remember, we used this all these things in the 1990s, and people in Kherson are now use gas to heat their apartments and houses. Yes, we also need gas heaters because some people in Kherson living in the block of flats don't have any heating because there is no power supply. I don't know how people manage to live there, but that's why I would like to recommend you to bring gas heaters and small stoves there for people to be able to at least cook meals there, because people make bonfires in their yards to be able to at least to cook something, and this is what volunteers I know saw there. So bring everything that can warm people up. Bring it to Kherson. And Vitaly, what can you say on the topic? Now, warm clothes, and as it has been mentioned by Valery, small gas stoves, just with a small gas ballon. This is a portable stove and heater. And then we hope that our foreign friends will be able to support us further on. Thank you very much for your participation. And as far as I understand, Denis is on his way, and it's already dark outside. Thank you very much for being with us here. Thank you for providing aid to Kherson residents and those living in the Kherson Oblast. I would like to wish you good luck, and I would also like to thank our audience, the audience of Ukraine Media Center Odesa. We continue our work and see you the next week. Thank you. Have a nice evening. We're from Ukraine.